Most people don't fail at investing because they pick the wrong stocks. They fail because they overthink everything, change strategies every few months, and never stay consistent long enough for compounding to do its job. And if you've ever felt overwhelmed by thousands of investment options, confusing opinions, and non-stop market noise, this video is for you. So before we go any further, if you want a simple investing approach that actually works, subscribe for clear, no-hype, wealth-building strategies. And comment, simple, if you're tired of overcomplicating investing and want something you can stick with for decades. Here's a truth most people need to hear early. Investing success rarely comes from complexity. It comes from consistency, patience, and owning the market instead of constantly trying to beat it. Yet most beginners believe they need dozens of investments, constant monitoring, and advanced strategies just to avoid falling behind, when in reality, simplicity is one of the biggest advantages an individual investor can have. The more choices you give yourself, the easier it becomes to make emotional decisions, because complexity creates confusion, confusion creates doubt, and doubt leads to bad timing, and that is exactly why many long-term investors eventually realize they would have been better off doing less, not more. So let's get straight to the point. If your goal is long-term wealth, financial independence, and low stress, you only need 4 types of ETFs, not hundreds. And once these 4 are in place, the hardest part of investing becomes doing nothing, which ironically is where most people struggle. Before we talk about the ETFs themselves, let's clarify what ETFs actually solve. An ETF allows you to own hundreds or even thousands of companies at once, instantly diversified, low-cost, and easy to manage, which removes the pressure of stock picking and shifts the focus back to behavior, where real investing results are decided. The first ETF you need for long-term wealth is a total market growth ETF. This is the core of your portfolio, because it gives you exposure to the overall economy instead of betting on individual companies, and its job is simple: grow with global business over decades, not months. And this single position alone already puts you ahead of most investors who constantly chase the next big winner. This ETF works because markets have historically moved upward over long periods of time, despite crashes, recessions, wars, and uncertainty, and owning the entire market allows you to benefit from long-term progress without needing to predict which company or sector will outperform next year. The second ETF you need is an international or global diversification ETF, because while your home country's market may feel familiar and safe, relying on a single country introduces unnecessary risk, and global exposure spreads your investment across different economies, currencies, and growth cycles, reducing dependence on any one region's performance. This ETF exists to protect your portfolio from overconfidence, because investors naturally believe their local market will always outperform, and history has shown that leadership rotates over time, which makes diversification not just a smart move, but a defensive one. The third ETF you need is a stability or income-focused ETF, and this is where many people misunderstand the role of stability, because its purpose is not to maximize growth, it is to protect your behavior during market downturns, since even the best growth strategy fails if fear forces you to sell at the wrong time. This ETF smooths out volatility, reduces emotional pressure during crashes, and gives your portfolio balance, allowing you to stay invested instead of reacting emotionally, and the calmer you remain during downturns, the better your long-term results tend to be. The fourth and final ETF you need is a Growth Plus or Completion ETF, which gives you slightly higher growth exposure without requiring speculation. And this portion allows flexibility within a disciplined structure, offering additional upside while still maintaining diversification instead of chasing trends or constantly rotating strategies. Now here's where most people make a mistake. They hear 4 ETFs and immediately ask, but what about this one or that one? And that question alone proves the point. The goal of this structure is not maximizing choices, It is eliminating unnecessary decisions that destroy long-term consistency. Once you build a portfolio around these 4 ETF roles, the strategy becomes boring, predictable, and emotionally manageable, which is exactly why it works, because boring strategies survive long enough to compound, while exciting ones usually collapse under pressure. Another reason this approach works is cost control, because ETFs are generally low fee, and fees matter far more than most beginners realize. As small percentage costs quietly eat away at returns every single year, especially over long time periods, and minimizing fees is one of the few advantages investors fully control. This 4 ETF approach also solves the problem of constant tinkering, because instead of asking, should I buy or sell now, your focus shifts to, am I investing consistently? And that single shift dramatically improves long-term outcomes, because consistency beats cleverness. It also removes the need to react to market noise, because news becomes less important when your strategy does not depend on predictions, and investors who consume less financial news often perform better, not because they are uninformed, but because they are not emotionally distracted. Rebalancing, if done occasionally, helps maintain this structure without emotional timing, allowing you to buy low and sell high automatically instead of reacting to headlines, which turns market volatility into a tool instead of a threat. Here's another uncomfortable truth. Most people don't abandon strategies because they don't work. They abandon them because they feel boring, slow, or unpopular, and the 4 ETF approach requires accepting that financial success often feels underwhelming early on. In the beginning, progress feels small, balances grow slowly, and excitement fades. But long-term investing rewards patience disproportionately, because compounding accelerates quietly and becomes noticeable only after years of consistency, not months. Another powerful benefit of simplicity is clarity, because when you clearly understand why each investment exists, fear has less room to control your decisions. And that clarity becomes your emotional anchor during volatile periods. This approach also adapts to different life stages, because the weight between growth and stability can gradually shift as your goals change, without needing a complete strategy overhaul, and flexibility inside structure is what keeps investors consistent long-term. If you ever feel the urge to add more investments, ask yourself one simple question: does this improve my behavior or just increase complexity? And most of the time, the honest answer reveals whether the change is helping or hurting long-term success. The irony of investing is that freedom comes from fewer decisions, not more, because every additional choice adds emotional pressure, and emotional pressure is the enemy of compounding, which is why professional strategies often look simpler than beginner portfolios. Let me be clear, this approach will not make you rich overnight. It is not designed to impress anyone at dinner parties, and it will never feel exciting. But it is designed to work when markets are calm, when markets are chaotic, and when motivation is high or low. Long-term wealth is not built by reacting faster than others, it is built by reacting less, and the 4 ETF structure supports exactly that behavior. So here's the final takeaway. If you want long-term wealth, stop trying to be clever, stop chasing complexity, and build a system you can stick with through boredom, fear, and uncertainty. Because simple plans executed consistently beat complex plans abandoned early. Take action now. A comment: simple. If you're committing to stop overthinking investing, subscribe for realistic wealth-building strategies and share this video with someone drowning in analysis paralysis. And if you want to understand why mindset matters more than stock selection, watch The Millionaire Mindset: 5 Habits That Will Change Your Finances. Because investing is simple, but sticking with it is where most people fail.